Welcome to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey from vision to reality. I'm Kelly Jackson, your guide on this path of self-discovery, transformation, and intentional living. Here, we explore everything from mindset shifts and personal growth to spiritual alignment and entrepreneurship, sharing insights, stories, and actionable wisdom to help you live a life in harmony with your dreams. Every episode will dig into what it means to not only dream big, but to actually consciously create the life you envision. Let's turn your dreams into real life. Welcome back to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I'm so happy that you're here. Today, the topic is becoming magnetic. Why self-love makes you glow. And there is something unexplainable about people who radiate. You know that moment when you walk into, or when someone else walks into a room and everyone turns their head. And it's not because of what they're wearing. It's not because of their job title. It's because of the energy that they are carrying. That is magnetism. And good news, it's not reserved for the lucky few. It is the natural side effect of loving yourself. Like for real, loving yourself, not a Pinterest quote, loving yourself. In today's episode, we're going to explore how self-love makes you glow from the inside out and why it is the most attractive, powerful, and authentic energy that you can cultivate. Are you ready to glow up? I am. Okay, energy is felt before words are heard. Y'all know a couple weeks ago we had a whole episode on energy, the language beneath words. If you didn't tune in to that, oh my gosh, so good. One of my faves. So before we get into self-love specifically, let's start with something universal. People feel your energy before they hear your words. And we get deeper into it in that episode. But let's just keep going. I want you to think about it. You can walk into a room where no one is speaking, and instantly you can know if tension is thick or if joy is buzzing. You know, the same thing happens with individuals. Okay. Your energy broadcasts a frequency before your voice even enters the space. And when you're rooted in self-love, your energy signals safety and openness and confidence. And that makes people drawn to you without you having to perform anything, okay? That's just you being you. You just existing, and people are drawn to you. That is magnetism at work. You can also flip that and think of times that you have been pulled towards somebody. You've been drawn to someone, and they weren't putting on a show. They weren't performing. They were just existing, and there was like something about them. It was just like, I want to be by them. Have you ever wondered why then some people captivate without trying? And the secret is not in a skill or in a trick. It's alignment between who they are and how they feel about themselves. Okay? Their confidence versus self-love. Okay, a lot of people confuse confidence with self-love, but they are not the same thing. Confidence can sometimes be situational. Okay, you may feel confident in your job or your style or a certain role. You're like, oh yeah, I'm confident here. But self-love is deeper, okay? It's unconditional acceptance of who you are, even when you're not performing well. So confidence can waver when the circumstances change, right? You are an athlete and you have been doing really well and you've been performing really well and you're feeling super confident, and then something happens and you go through this little slump and you are not on your game, right? Well, what happens? Your confidence might start getting shaken. Okay. That's why we're saying confidence can waver when circumstances change. And again, the reason we say it may be situational is because there could be some aspects of your life, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there probably are some aspects of your life, your personality, yourself, your whatever, where you do feel confident. And there are other things where you're like, yeah, not so much. You know, you could feel really confident in your ability to do something, but not confident in your ability to do it in front of other people. And that's a real thing. So that's why I'm saying self-love is deeper than that, though. It's unconditional acceptance of who you are. And even when you're not performing well, even when, you're still accepting yourself and you're still loving yourself no matter what. And when you cultivate self-love, confidence starts to flow naturally. And that's good news, okay? So does that magnetic energy that people notice. That grows too and starts to flow naturally. So again, confidence can waver when the circumstances change. But self-love, if you think about it, it's like the soil that it grows from. Okay? So that's why we're going to focus on our self-love. And, true magnetism, it doesn't come from puffing yourself up. It comes from being so anchored in self-love that nothing can knock you off your center. I like that. I want you to think about that. Visualize it, right? The glow that I mentioned earlier, it's real. Science and spirit. I want to talk about that a little bit. So you have probably heard the phrase, oh my gosh, she's glowing, and it's not just poetic, guys. It's self-love really and truly reduces stress. It calms your nervous system. It boosts your serotonin, which is like the happy chemical that your body makes. And all of those things literally changes how your body radiates, okay? Spiritually, it's like your aura gets brighter because you're no longer at war with yourself. And people might not be able to name it, but they feel it. And that glow is what makes someone magnetic, okay? And it's a combination of science and soul in harmony. Have you ever said or been in that situation or felt, because I know I've said this often, like, think about some of us at stages of our life when we have been in what I have said as a soul-sucking job, right? Or maybe it's a soul-sucking relationship, it just drains you, right? And that's just an expression I used in the past, but it comes to mind here because if you imagine a person who is in a soul-sucking job, right, who feels stuck in that job, who does not want to be there, who dreads going, who wishes that they weren't there, who doesn't love anything about it, right? And is just sucking and draining the life force out of them, okay? They're not going to have the same glow as someone who loves what they do. They love the people they work with. They love the people they work for, or the people that, right? They love everything about it. And that doesn't mean that work's never hard or challenging sometimes, because okay, y'all, it's life. It's gonna be challenging and hard sometimes. But you love it. And it lights you up. Listen even to the expression I just said. It lights you up. someone who it lights you up. I mean, you're glowing. It lights you up, right? That is not the same as someone who's like dragging their feet to have to go to work every day. Okay. And that's just one example. I use the example of work. But when you stop draining energy by criticizing yourself, for example, you free that energy to shine outward. Okay. And people can't help but notice. So there are so many ways that we can achieve the glow up. But I do want you to keep in mind, it is a combination of, it's like at the intersection of science and spirituality, okay? And that's beautiful. And you deserve a glow up. Regardless of your gender, the glow ups are not, I know I said earlier, oh, she's glowing. Glow ups are for everybody. I think what came to mind was like, that's typically this compliment we give women who are pregnant. They have the pregnancy glow. Oh my God, you're glowing. And yes, let's keep going. So, okay, why self-rejection repels without you realizing it? Let's flip the coin for a second and talk about why self-rejection actually does repel people. If you were walking around with this quiet belief that you're not enough, which a lot of us are, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not handsome enough, I'm not whatever enough that we all say, I'm not rich enough, I'm not healthy enough, whatever we say, okay? I'm not popular enough. Even if that is just this quiet belief, not like you're wearing it plastered across your shirt or your forehead, but you just believe it. On some level, you believe it, okay? That energy is leaking. It's leaking. And it shows up as trying too hard, over-explaining, shrinking yourself. These are just some of the ways. And you may recognize that either in yourself now, in yourself in the past. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I used to really try too hard, or like, oh, I over-explained way too much. I did not need to go into that big of an explanation. Just things like this. Or you may instantly have someone pop into your mind, someone in your life, maybe someone from the past, or even someone who currently is in your life, right? And you're like, oh yeah. And you can recognize that. This awareness, again, no judgment. We're observing, we're recognizing patterns, and this is all part of self-awareness. We're doing it with loving kindness, always without judgment, because that's counterproductive to all the work that we're doing together. Now, people might not know why, but they can sense the dissonance when you are walking around with those quiet beliefs of not being enough, for example, because it feels heavy instead of magnetic. Or like you're just carrying the weight of the world, or you're hiding something, or whatever the case may be. So the moment you soften into acceptance, that static clears. I was at an event, an art party last night, and it was interesting because this just pops into my mind. It was we had all these TVs, old TV frames that were being transformed into art, and one of them was already done, and the artist who had created it was talking about it and had added to this painting that was mounted inside of an old school, like retro TV frame, right? That they added static. The static that would be like on a TV screen, I guess back then, all the little white, the noise, the dots, the little static. It just pops into my head. But so the moment that you soften into the acceptance, right, the static clears, and suddenly your presence becomes lighter and more approachable. And this is what we want. Magnetism is not about adding more. It is about removing this interference of self-rejection so that your natural energy can flow. And I know you're capable of doing this. So let's do it. I got some more ideas for you that I want to talk about, though, that may help you. So attraction is resonance, not performance. Here is the key shift. You don't earn magnetism by performing. Okay? You resonate it by being. So again, you don't earn magnetism by performing. You resonate it by being. When you love yourself, you vibrate at a frequency that attracts what matches you. So whether it is opportunities or friendships or love, okay, you don't have to chase it. Things start gravitating toward you. And that's because resonance is effortless while performance is exhausting. And people always feel the difference between someone who is trying to prove their worth and someone who is embodying their worth. So the real work isn't trying harder. It's loving deeper. It kind of reminds me too of that saying, you're a human being, not a human doing. It's not always about the doing. That's such a masculine doing, but we have to balance that with the feminine of being. Self-love is contagious, It's one of the most beautiful things I would say about magnetism is that it's contagious. When you embody self-love, you give others permission to love themselves too. And your presence becomes this mirror, okay? And it's like, hey, it's safe to be fully yourself here. Like, I'm doing it. Yes, you can do it too, okay? That's why magnetic people often inspire without even trying. They don't just draw other people in. They quite literally elevate the energy of the entire space. And that is magnetic. That is contagious. Okay? And when you start walking in self-love, like we're talking about, you will notice that your relationships shift, okay? People will either rise to meet you there and be really grateful to be able to be in your presence and be around you, right? Because it feels good. And because they like that frequency that you're vibrating at. It feels good. It feels good to be around you. They're drawn to you. You're magnetic, your presence. And the reason is because when they leave, after they've been around you, and like when they're around you, but they can recognize that they feel good after spending time with you. They don't feel drained. They don't feel depleted. They feel good in your presence, okay? So when you're walking in self-love, okay, this is what I'm talking about. You're going to notice relationships shift. Y'all know I was on this intentional journey of self. And I mean, this is not only my experiences, but this is from all the people that I talk to, and not even just me personally. This is from all of the other research I do and people I follow and comment sections I read and just people I listen to, just all of the things, right? This is beyond just me. So people will either rise to meet you there or they'll naturally drift away. And that's okay too. And you can think back to even people you may have gone through phases with where it was like for a little while, y'all were like jamming, y'all were like resonating and kind of enjoying having similar interests. And y'all were just like, yeah, you resonated. And it was kind of fun. Y'all just did your little hangout for a little minute. And then it was just kind of like nothing like major happened, but just maybe you each got some new interest and it was just didn't quite resonate anymore. And so y'all aren't going through your hangout phase anymore. Okay. It happens. People naturally drift away. In self-love, you're not chasing people. You're just like, oh yeah. Okay. Guys, I want you to hear this too. The glow up, it's an inside job. Okay. So I want to land with this in the most powerful glow up that you can have. It is not going to be about changing your hair or your wardrobe or your Instagram aesthetic. Okay. Those things are fun. They're fun. But they're surface. And the deepest glow ups come when you stop outsourcing your worth and you start cultivating love from the inside. And that's when you radiate. And it's not because of what you put on, okay? But it's because of what you've taken off. The shame, the judgment, the comparison. There is this mantra that I love, and I'll share it with you here. And it's real simple. It's just shame off me. You know, I hear people say, and I would always hear it growing up, and even still now, it seems to be one of these things that when I hear people say it, it's almost like I have some sort of little flag, and I hear it, I notice it. And what I'm talking about is shame on you, shame on them. You should be ashamed of yourself. Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself. They should be ashamed of themselves. And shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. And it's like you hear it so much and people throw that around. And, you know, shame is the lowest vibrational frequency there is. The lowest. And we carry shame. We do. It's something that we carry around. And I don't want to carry that around. So a mantra I use, and I share this with other people as well, I'm going to share it here, is shame off me. Shame off me. Shame off me. Shame off me. It's an affirmation. It's a mantra. Shame off me. Because guess what? That shame is going to manifest as heaviness in my body, as dense energy that can be illness, injury, disease, extra weight, whatever, inflammation, just anything. I don't want that shame. I don't want to be carrying the shame in my body, because the body keeps the score. The body holds the trauma and all the things. So this is just a personal practice. Again, as anytime I share things like this, guys, this isn't obviously medical advice. These are practices that I have learned, sometimes from teachers, sometimes from coaches, sometimes from guides, sometimes from books, sometimes from who even knows all where, right? It's such a combination, and mostly from life experience too, lived experiences. Well, or at least that's the common thread that ties it all together. And so I share these things and always share with the disclaimer, if you want to call it that, of take what's for you, leave what's not. Take what's for you, leave what's not. Okay. These are things that have helped me and I like to share. So, and feel called to share, more importantly, beyond liking to share, I feel called to share. It's interesting. So what I was saying, the shame off me before I got off, that was, about radiating and having this really deep glow up and it being an inside job. And the new you emerges not as a performance, but as your most authentic expression. And when I say the new you, I mean, we're just referring to the you that has this new mindset, has this new belief system, has this new sense of self. Okay. Like that's what I mean when I say the new you. And that is what people can't resist. It's authenticity that is lit up by love. It's you as your most authentic expression. That's magnetic. That is magnetic. Okay. So here's the truth. Okay, guys, self-love is the universal glow. And it is what makes you magnetic. And it's not in a manipulative way either, but in the most natural and soulful way possible. When you love yourself, your energy shifts and your presence really expands. And people can feel that before you ever say a word, before you ever open your mouth. If you have been waiting for a sign to stop criticizing yourself and to start cherishing yourself, well, this is it. And if you're ready to go even deeper, self-love uni is where the glow becomes a lifestyle. It's funny. Self-love uni, you guys may or may not know, this is my signature program that I have, and you can join anytime. You can enroll anytime. The one-on-one coaching add-on, well, that is subject to availability. My schedule is sometimes open, it's sometimes booked. But Self-Love Uni itself, you can actually enroll in that at any time. So enrollment is open right now. And I actually call it that inside of Self-Love Uni instead of homework. We call it glow work. Not that you actually have a lot of homework or glow work anyway, but it's some resources and tools. But because that's the goal, we're doing, it's a glow up. And it is an energetic glow up. It is a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual glow up. It is all of the things. And you're invited to check it out. If you want to learn a little more, go to whatchawant.us/discover self-love uni. And there may be little, hyphens, like a minus sign between each of those words at the end. Discover self-love uni, or might all be one word. I can't think off the top of my head, but whatchawant.us/discover self-love uni. And you might be surprised. It's a fun it's going to take you to this really great page where you can read and learn more, and you can see what it's all about. Pardon, I got away from the mic. I love the myth of the caterpillar and the goo. Okay, so because we love the butterfly metaphor. But rarely, at least in my personal experience, rarely did I hear about the goo phase growing up, okay? So when a caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, it literally dissolves into this soupy mess before reorganizing into a butterfly. It doesn't just sprout wings while staying a caterpillar. That is what I believe that most of my life I thought. It was just like a caterpillar goes into a cocoon and it gets some little wings on its back and then it's a butterfly. But that's not the case. It ceases to be what it was. Okay, this goo stage is nature's perfect mirror for transformation, because everything that you knew about yourself feels like it is melting, and your plans dissolve, and your sense of control evaporates. And here's the wild part, though. Inside that goo, imaginal cells are already carrying the blueprint of the butterfly. And you have imaginal cells too, your dreams, desires, and your soul's knowing. So if you are feeling like the mush right now, like you have lost your shape, okay, that is not failure, friends. That is transformation and progress. And the goo is proof that something extraordinary is reorganizing inside of you. I want to share this story because it came to mind, and I share it, I guess, somewhat often, but it's important to hear because, chances are if you're tuning into this, you are either going through transformation, you are just coming on the other side of it, or that you are intentionally on the path for like intentional transformation. And so that's why this little, the kind of myth of the caterpillar and the goo, that's why I like it. I like to share it. I want you to think about something else. Identity molting. So think about snakes. I got tongue twisted there. Think about snakes shedding their skin. snakes shedding their skin. They don't rip it off in like one neat, graceful motion. What is going on with this? Me trying to get this thought out. I am like, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I want you to think about snakes that are shedding their skin. Okay. They don't just rip it off in one graceful motion. If you ever seen it, if you ever witnessed it, I have. They rub against rocks. They wriggle and they scrape. Okay. And shedding is awkward. The same is true when we outgrow identities, old roles like the good girl, the overachiever, the peacemaker, whatever it was, whatever roles you were playing, they feel itchy and constricting at some point. And you rub up against life and you feel friction, okay? And that is not because you're failing, it's because you're molting. And every scrape, every bump, whatever, it is loosening what no longer fits. What's really uncomfortable, you've outgrown it, okay? So instead of shaming yourself for being too sensitive or too restless or too this or too that, what if you honored it as this sign that you are growing new skin? And your discomfort is this sacred evidence that expansion is happening. I like that. There's an empty stage that happens that you may experience. So if you imagine your life as a theater and one character has just left the stage, okay? The spotlight is still warm, but the next character has not walked out yet. So the stage looks empty. That empty stage moment is terrifying. We want to yell, cue the next act already. But what if the pause is necessary, okay? What if that stillness is where you exhale and where you prepare the set, where you maybe let the echoes of the last act fade. So without the empty stage, you wouldn't notice a shift in the story. Okay? So if your life feels like the empty stage right now, don't rush to fill it, is what I'm saying. That silence is part of the play. And the curtain hasn't fallen, guys. It's just intermission maybe, okay? Or you're just between scenes. So trust and be okay with the empty stage. Mainly, I want you to hear, don't try to fill it. Don't be in a rush. Don't try to fill the space in general. I mean, in this little example I gave, but like in life in general, don't try to fill the empty space of a conversation. You ask a question, give someone the space to answer. Don't jump right in with something else, okay? Just don't rush to fill everything. Now, have you ever heard, there's this old fable of a river flowing through a mountain, and the rock once said, "Stop pushing me. You'll never get through." But the river whispered to the rock, "I don't need to fight you. I just keep flowing." And over time, the river carried the rock into valleys and canyons. And transformation is not forceful. It's persistent, and you don't have to push yourself into becoming. You just have to keep flowing and keep showing up with tenderness and with presence and with small daily practices of self-love. The flow does the carving. So if that mountain feels immovable in your life right now, do not panic. Flow beats force, okay? Water always wins. It's good to come back to that because sometimes we forget. There's this paradox of clarity where everyone craves clarity during change. We want the 10-step plan and we want certainty, right? But clarity does not come before the leap. It comes through the leap. And it's like walking through fog, okay? You only see the next step when you take it. And demanding clarity too early is like standing at the trailhead, refusing to walk until you can see the entire mountain path. And the truth is this: clarity reveals itself in motion. If you've ever gone up there, like especially sunrise or just early in the mountains, and you know, with all the mist and everything, what it's like. So if you don't know who you're becoming yet, that is okay. Don't be in a rush, but walk anyway. And each step you take is truly going to be writing the map. It's kind of like building the airplane while you're flying it, right? I want to talk a little bit about borrowed beliefs. Sometimes what makes the in-between harder is realizing that your old beliefs don't fit, but you haven't yet grown your new ones. I just had something come to mind. I don't know if any of you have seen, there's a Pixar movie called Inside Out, and there is a Inside Out 2. And in Inside Out 2, it is when she goes through puberty, the main character, Riley. And I'm not giving away the whole movie, but I'm saying this in this really beautiful scene, and I love how they animated this, how they use storytelling with visuals, and it was just like, oh, it was so good because it was exactly what we're talking about here. So what I had just said was, what makes this in between harder is realizing your old beliefs don't fit, but you haven't yet grown your new ones. And in this movie, what happened was, as a young person, pre-puberty, Riley had a solid sense of self, right? And when she went through puberty, some new emotions joined the headquarters, is what they call it. It wasn't just joy, sadness, disgust, fear, anger, right? It was some new anxiety, embarrassment, right? All these other new emotions. And what happened was they get rid of her old sense of self and decide they have to create a new sense of self. And that's kind of part of the plot of the movie, is this space in between. The space in between the place of getting rid of your old beliefs, the ones that no longer fit. And you'll have to watch the movie to discern for yourself whether or not Riley's old beliefs did or did not fit. I'm not going to give that away, but I'm in this example saying, right? But then the new sense of self is being developed. And so it's not fully developed yet. You don't have them yet. That's what I'm talking about. So when we're in this state, this is when you can borrow belief. So borrow the faith of a friend who sees your potential. Borrow the wisdom of a book that stirs your soul. Borrow the reminder from nature that seasons always turn, okay? You don't need to hold 100% certainty yourself. Sometimes you can lean on borrowed belief until your own roots take hold. This is why affirmations are so important. And look, listening to things like this, okay? Hey, I'm glad you're here. I really am. That's also the beauty of community. When your flame flickers, you borrow a little light until yours burns strong again. Okay? Self-love is an anchor. And transformation can feel like being tossed around in a stormy sea, okay? Everything familiar disappears. Your anchor in the chaos is self-love. That's what I'm saying. Not in the fluffy feel-good way, but in like the radical grounded way. In other words, not in the all love and light, but in the we did the shadow work, we love all parts of ourselves. even the dark parts. That way. Self-love is feeding your body when it's tired, okay? It's saying no when you need rest and not overextending. It's holding yourself tenderly when the old identity is slipping off. Giving yourself that grace. And it's remembering that you're worthy in every vision, even / especially the messy middle. The sea may keep moving, and it will. But your anchor is what's going to keep you from drifting, too far from yourself. So self-love is how you come home while you're becoming. I want to circle back around. So again, what we were talking about today is becoming magnetic, right? And how self-love makes you grow. So I wanted to really drive home the importance of self-love and just all the ways it really and truly does impact and influence your life, your self-love, your relationship that you have with yourself. Take a breath with me. We have traveled through so many layers today: energy, presence, resonance, glow, and we come full circle. Okay, I want to bring you back to the heart of this conversation, which was being magnetic, like I said. So because that word magnetic is so much more than a metaphor, it is the truth of how energy works. When you are lit up from the inside, when you actually love yourself, when you are rooted in your worth, people can't help but notice. And it's not about chasing or convincing or proving anymore. And it's not about bending over backwards to earn love, or it's definitely not about hustling endlessly for validation. Okay? It's about becoming the kind of person whose very being says, I am enough, I am love, I am light. And that is what makes you glow. That is what makes you magnetic. And here's the thing that most people forget. You don't glow because life is perfect. You glow because you have chosen to keep loving yourself through it all. Through the messy middle, through the heartbreak, through the awkward chapters. I know you've had awkward chapters. I think about 5 of my awkward chapters somehow all flashed into my mind in the midst of me saying those 2 words. How is that even possible? But they did. So, through the awkward chapters when you don't have answers yet, through the days when the inner critic is loud. And look, we all have those days, okay? And when you're tempted to believe the lies that it tells you, the inner critic. It's in these moments, it's in those moments, not the polished ones, but it's in those moments that your glow is being forged. Every time you choose self-love over self-criticism, you're turning up your wattage. And every time you set a boundary, every time you honor your needs, every time you speak kindly to yourself, when it would be easier to tear yourself down, or maybe when you in the past did tear yourself down, you are charging your own magnetic field. And people feel that, even if they don't have words for it. And you have felt it in others, haven't you? Like the person who walks into a room and just radiates ease. The one you can't quite explain why you feel safe with them, but you do. Or why you feel inspired by them. Okay? That's not an accident. That is self-love made visible. So here's the paradox. The more you turn inward and build your own glow, the less you actually need anything from the outside world. And that freedom, it's liberation. And it's what draws in the right people and opportunities and experiences. That's when the synchronicities show up. Okay. That's when the doors open. That's when your life begins to align in ways that feel magical because you have aligned with yourself. So if you take nothing else from today, I want you to take this. You don't become magnetic by trying harder. You become magnetic by loving yourself deeper. Okay? Now, I know that is simple, but it's not always easy. That's exactly why I created Self-Love Uni, because yes, you can hear me say these things on the podcast, and maybe you nod along and you feel a spark of truth inside of you. But what changes your life is practice, repetition, support, okay? And daily reminders, real tools to shift your inner dialogue and anchor into your worth and build habits that turn self-love from a nice idea into a lived reality. Self-Love Uni is a place where we do that together. It is where I walk beside you, not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who has walked this path too, and who knows what it takes to rewire the relationship that you have with yourself. Because when you love yourself, you stop abandoning yourself, and you stop shrinking, and you stop handing over your power, and you start living as the fullest, freest, most magnetic version of yourself. So here's my invitation. If you're ready to stop trying to get love and start becoming love, if you are ready to stop dimming and start glowing, and if you're ready to learn how to truly embody this magnetic energy that we have been talking about today, come join us inside of Self-Love Uni, because the world doesn't need a perfect version of you, okay? The world needs the real version of you, the glowing, magnetic, fully alive you. And you deserve that too. So as we close today, take one last deep breath. And feel the glow inside your chest, even if it's just a spark. And I want you to know this, that spark, it's enough. The spark is the beginning. Feed it with love and it will grow. What does Clifford say? Love makes little things grow. When it does grow, you will not only change your life, but you will light the way for others too. That is what it means to become magnetic. And it all begins with love. I'm going to end it here, guys. Thanks for being with me today. Hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to share it with somebody. And I will leave all the notes to Self-Love Uni down below. You can always find out more details by going to whatyouwant.us/discover self-love uni. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Dreamed It, Then Real Lifed It. I hope today's episode sparked something powerful within you. Remember, every step you take towards your vision counts, no matter how small. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a second to hit that subscribe button or leave a review. That would be amazing. Or share the podcast with someone who's ready to bring their dreams into reality too. And if you're looking to dive deeper, connect with me on social media at dreamed it, then real lifed it, or at BE_what you want. Or visit dreameditthenreallifedit.us for more resources on aligning your life, business, and dreams. Until next time, keep dreaming and keep manifesting your dreams into real life. Love you, friends.